That's absolutely true. Christine Quinn, Anthony Weiner, they've got to be hoping that he doesn't get in there. He said as much. He wants to reconfigure this office. He wants to make it what he did in the Attorney General's office. He wants to transform it. And do people really want him looking at education and all those other things that he can use, his role to kind of bully people?
And to your point about the other candidates, Spitzer probably does have the best resume. I mean, Anthony Weiner's resume compared to Spitzer's, it's not even close. So I wouldn't want to be Mayor Weiner with Spitzer, supposedly on my team, and him thinking about steamrolling me at some point.
How would you fit the egos in the same room at the same time?
Imagine the first conversation they have if they're both elected together, what that's going to be like.
I was going to say you want to be a fly on the wall, but you might not have
I don't want to be near it.
Radius.
Before you move on,
Yeah.
okay, imagine this conversation. Here's another important question. Let's just say, for argument's sake, Weiner is the mayor. Imagine a conversation between Spitzer, Weiner, and then Spitzer's arch enemy rival, Governor Cuomo. They hate each other. And I know this for a fact. I won't go into the other details, but those two, combustible.
Could make for a lot of fun for the people in the jobs that we have.
Oh, yes. That's the understatement of the year.
Full disclosure, I just made a significant investment in New York tabloid newspapers because the Spitzer situation is going to be great.
Did that show up in the forums last week? You guys disclosed?
They'll be in the next one.
All right, so last night we talked about, is this the end of the sex scandal as being a prohibition on politicians staying in office? But we also wanted to look at some other politicians who have experienced falls from grace, tempting to think about who can make a comeback. The Washington Post did a piece on this, their own analysis of who might be able to or who might be able to bounce back. So I'm going to give some names. I want to go around the table and just give a percentage chance that you think they'll get back into the game or can get back into the game, and then we'll compare that to what the Post had. And the first one we'll start with is Eliot Spitzer. What do you think the odds are of him back in the game?
Absolutely.
100%?
100%.
Absolutely, and the fact that he broke down in tears on MSNBC this morning with National, definitely.
I don't know if those were tears or crocodile tears, but...
Yeah, Cry Me a River. Yeah, I think he's in. I mean, I think he's got to be the front runner.
He's in. He's going to be, at this point, he's the guy.
I agree. I give it 100%. The Washington Post gave him 50%. Next up, Anthony Weiner. What do we think the odds? We'll go around the other way. O'Brien.
It's all a question of the runoff. I mean, as we said before in this set, the question is what happens to the black vote. If Thompson is out of that runoff and if they stay home, a lot can happen.
Give me a number.
50-50 if you can make it.
50-50? Karen?
I think 25%. Weiner's got no resume. He's got no experience. I think it's tough for him because he's really never accomplished anything other than getting himself elected.
As much time Weiner's spending in the black community, you'd almost think he's African American. I put it at about 75 to 80% that he's the next mayor.
Jeannie?
I put it at about 60%, and I'll tell you, whether he wins or loses, he is back in New York politics, and he's here to stay. He wins either way for running.
I agree with you there. I go about 35% because if he's in the runoff, I think he's a dead man walking.
That's Lou's plan, by the way, too.
The Post,
absolutely.
That not working so well for Lou at this point. The Post gave him 20%, by the way. All right, let's go across the river to New Jersey. Jim McGreevey, interesting character, was caught in an interesting scandal. What do you think the odds of him ever making a comeback?
I don't know that Jim McGreevey has the interest in making a comeback.
I'm not sure he does either.
But, so I would put it much lower at about a 20%. You know, you'd have to see the fire in somebody to want to do this, and I haven't seen that in McGreevey.
Dom?
Never. The public will never get over those rest stop stories. Ever. He's done.
And he put the guy on the payroll.
Yeah, I put it in single digits. I forgot about him until you mentioned his name, to be honest.
O'Brien?
Yeah, he's not going anywhere at this point. And fire in the belly, as you said, is one of the most important things.
Post gave him 20%.
I knew I was right.
Next one, John Edwards. John Edwards, former presidential candidate,
The Democrats are like, get away from me. And finito. He's done. There's nothing he can do.
He lives in North Carolina, too. It's not New York City.
I say negative numbers on Edwards. I mean, you can't cheat on your sick wife, and you can't ask a staffer to claim paternity for your child.
You can cheat on your sick wife. Ask Newt Gingrich.
Yeah, no, I would put it a little higher. I'd put him around, 15%, 20%. He's an ambitious guy. I agree with you. It doesn't work well where he lives right now. But people are forgiving. Time goes by. People forget.
A Democrat in North Carolina is the same as a Democrat in New York City or Mark Sanford in South Carolina.
No, you're right about that.
You can't beat somebody with nobody, but you also got to look and see where they live.
Yeah.
North Carolina is changing, by the way. I give him a 0. The Washington Post gave him 5%.
Because Eliot Spitzer's not the only John in the race for controller right now. You know doing that, right? John Burnett is also running as a Republican. So there is another guy in
Do
here.
you have any more Catskills material to get out, or are we through the?
When you said that, I've never heard him referred to as a John. So when you, I'm like, wait a minute.
And here's the other thing about all these guys, and they do all happen to be guys, I just want to point that out, they have the name recognition you need to make a go of it, and that is critically important. So if they have the fire to do it, they can get on the ballot.
Let me give you another name, David Petraeus. His name was mentioned as a possible presidential candidate.
He can go in this thing tomorrow if he wanted to.
Really?
Yes, I agree.
Really?
I agree wholeheartedly.
On a
I
national level?
I thought he should actually consider running for mayor this time around. I talked to people about that.
I disagree. He made enemies on the left when he was a Republican general for a Republican president and dealing with the surge, and he made enemies on the right. He has no allies. You look at this scandal he's involved in right now with Cooney. He's getting a six-figure salary to work a couple hours a week. People are up in arms, and liberal professors are against him. Liberal mayoral candidates are against him. Conservatives like me are saying that it's an absorbent amount of money.
But the reality is you can't beat somebody with nobody, and if he said, I want to run for whatever as a Republican and go against the Democrats, if the Republicans came against him, the conservatives would still come back around him. And the question with CUNY is where that money came from. That's a whole other discussion, if it came from private funds or public funds.
Well, it came
Yeah,
from private funds, but not your
I have to say, I think the president is a whole nother ballgame. I think you're thinking of running for governor, Senate. That's one thing. To have him run for president, I have zero feeling that he will run for that.
I put it at 0 also because he wasn't a politician. He never made the transition from the military to politics, with the exception of the brief stay at CIA. So I don't think people view
That's
him
the fire
that
in the
way.
belly. If he spent time with people at various times and wanted to run and lived in New York or whether Washington D.C. can't do much out of, but or Maryland or Virginia, you could do quite a bit.
Post gave him 15%, by the way. Final one that we're going to go through: Larry Widestance Craig. He was from Idaho. I guess he still is. He made everybody aware of things happening in the Minneapolis bathroom that nobody wanted to know about. Can a guy like that, a guy caught up in a gay sex scandal? I mean, we got McGreevey who admitted to it, but Craig who still hasn't.
But he's also a Republican in a Republican state, which makes it that much tougher to do.
Number?
0.
It's so creepy in the bathroom. It's got to be 10%. You know, creepiness counts.
It is creepy.
Benito.
No, I say 25%. He wants to run for the House. He wants to run for the Senate. He's got the name recognition. He's got the state.
I
He's
wish I
got the
had you as
party.
a teacher. That curve would be great.
I'm easy.
I don't think he could even run for office in GLAD.
People don't even remember who he is.
The Post gave him 2%. All right,
Wrong.
so now that we've had our fun at their expense, we're going to see how this all plays out in the coming days. Up next, we're going to have the latest from the Zimmerman trial in Sanford, Florida. The defense getting very close to resting. We'll get the latest after this.